Hey, this is Michael. The drive to Seattle is supposed to be the easy part. 4 hours, nothing more than road signs and the occasional stretch of green. I leave early, 6 a.m. No distractions, just the hum of the engine and my thoughts clattering like loose change in my head. There's a $2.5 million investment riding on this, and the stakes aren't small. I've prepared for this day like a soldier heading into battle. Every slide in the pitch, every figure in the financial forecast, every word of the speech, rehearsed and refined. Ryan's the missing piece in this, though. The tech guy, the CTO, the one with all the answers to their questions. He's supposed to be here, making the numbers and jargon come to life. It's not that I don't know the product. It's that they'll want to hear it from him. I've called it our meeting, but it's his too. I get to the venue, sleek, modern, the kind of space that screams success by 11:30. Half an hour early, the way I always do things. Investors like punctuality. It shows you mean business. The room's set up with 3 large monitors, a table full of high-backed chairs, and a half-dozen people waiting for us. They're sharp, well-dressed, quiet as they flip through their papers, eyes flicking toward the door every now and then. The kind of people who don't look at their phones too much trust in the schedule, too little faith in anything else. I text Ryan again, then call. The line rings. And rings. No answer. I send a follow-up text. Where are you? It's almost time. I know he's not a fan of punctuality. Hell, I can't even get him to keep track of time zones. But this is different. By 12 o'clock, I'm standing at the window, hands in my pockets, staring out at the city sprawled below me. The traffic is a buzz of tiny dots beneath the glass. I can't focus on it. Too much noise inside my head. Ryan should have been here by now. The tension's building, a dull throb that I can't shake. The longer I wait, the harder it becomes to pretend this is still fine. I try calling again. Nothing. 12:30. The clock ticks in my peripheral vision, mocking me. The investors are still quiet, though their stares have become more focused. They don't say anything, but I can feel the questions in the air. Why is he late? Why didn't he show up at all? At 1 o'clock, the email notification pings. It's from Ryan, finally. I swipe open the message, hoping for something concrete. Something. I'm stuck. Can't make it. Stuck? It's a 2-word response. Not even a proper explanation. He doesn't explain why, doesn't offer an apology, nothing. I read the words twice, let them sink in. My chest tightens. I call him again, but this time, the call cuts off before it even connects. I check the room. The investors are still sitting there, expressions unreadable. A few glance at me, but no one says a word. The air is getting thick. I could have sliced it with a knife. And then the one in the middle, the guy who's been quiet the whole time, shifts in his chair and folds his arms. We'll need to reschedule. We can't move forward without the CTO here for the technical side of things. I nod, a small gesture. The words are like a weight sinking into the pit of my stomach. Let's call it for today, he continues. We'll be in touch. But I'll be honest with you, this doesn't look good. If you can't rely on your team to show up when it matters. He lets the sentence trail off. The meeting is over. Just like that. No chance to pitch, no chance to explain the product further, no chance to sell them on the vision. Ryan's absence, his complete disregard for what was at stake, has cost me. It's cost us. I stand there for a moment, hand still gripping the phone, eyes fixed on the table. It's the first major setback of the day. The kind of thing you don't bounce back from easily. No smooth recovery. Just the sting of failure sinking deeper. As the investors file out, one by one, I'm left standing in the room, the hum of the air conditioning and my own heartbeat the only sounds. They don't look back, don't offer any words of encouragement. I try calling Ryan one more time. It rings. Then it stops. The voicemail picks up. I don't leave a message. What would I say? It's late afternoon when I pull into a local bar. The weight of the morning still hangs heavy. Seattle's streets blur as I navigate through them, the city feeling distant despite my proximity. I haven't talked to Sarah all day, and the silence from her phone is gnawing at me. For years we've been doing this, long distance. Long calls, text threads that stretch for miles, late-night video chats. We met at a tech conference, both of us in our element, talking shop over drinks until the place closed down. It clicked. It was easy. Her job as a digital marketing director keeps her busy, more often than not, I understand that. But this silence? This is different. I've tried calling twice now, and sent a few texts. The usual back and forth, the usual quick responses, hasn't come. I know she's probably in meetings or handling some last-minute crisis. She does that, absorbs the world until she can't keep up with it anymore. But this silence, it feels deliberate. Like she's avoiding me. I stop at a bar, a dive tucked off the main road, and slide onto a stool. I need something to quiet the buzzing in my brain. Something to dull the sharp edges of frustration. The bartender doesn't ask what I want, she just pours a whiskey, slides it in front of me. Maybe she's seen 1,000 people like me, or maybe she just knows better than to ask. The glass is cold, the amber liquid a comfort as it hits my throat. I should have been in control by now. I know that. A few months ago, nothing would have shaken me like this. But the meeting this morning, Ryan's no-show, the investors walking out, the questions they didn't ask but made clear in their eyes, has worn me down. It's compounded by Sarah's quiet. My mind starts to spiral. Are we okay? Are we falling apart? The distance between us, the lack of connection, feels so much more pronounced today. Every unanswered call is another knot in my stomach. I sip the drink, slow, deliberate, trying to calm my thoughts. But it's useless. The weight of everything, my career, my relationship, sits on my chest like a stone, pressing harder with every breath. A few minutes pass. I check my phone again. No texts. No missed calls. I finish the whiskey in one swallow, and as the warmth spreads through me, a thought cuts through the haze. I need to go home. The thought of returning to the quiet of my apartment, away from the chaos, feels like the only thing I can control right now. I pay the tab and leave the bar. The air is cold, the drive home quiet. The highway stretches before me, but my mind is already a few steps ahead, racing with the endless, unanswered questions. By the time I pull into my apartment's parking lot, I'm exhausted, emotionally drained. The phone buzzes as I turn off the car. Another text from Sarah, finally. I open it without thinking, expecting some explanation. Instead, it's short, distant. No words to calm the anxiety. I sit in the car for a moment, the silence echoing louder than it should. And then, as if the day hasn't been heavy enough, my phone rings. It's Ryan's number. I answer without hesitation. He's incoherent, stuttering. I'm sorry, man. I got arrested last night. DUI. I freeze, the world momentarily going still. The frustration from earlier morphs into something darker. Ryan's arrest wasn't just a personal failure, it's another blow. Another thread unraveling in the chaos. And I can't make sense of any of it. The drive home on Interstate 5 is a blur of red brake lights and headlights slicing through the darkness. The steady hum of the engine is the only sound, and my mind, still spinning from Ryan's phone call, can't settle. I'm not sure what hurts more, his betrayal or the silence from Sarah. It's been hours since I last heard from her, and each mile feels like a jagged rock cutting deeper. I try to focus on the road, but it's impossible to ignore the car tailgating me, an aggressive black Audi, the headlights blinding in my rearview mirror. The driver's not letting up. I can feel my pulse quicken as the Audi inches closer, its front bumper practically kissing my rear. I check my speed. I'm not going slow, but the driver doesn't seem to care. I switch lanes, hoping they'll back off. Instead, the Audi follows, staying on my tail like a predator. My frustration bubbles up, hot and sudden. I slam the accelerator, pushing the car ahead, but the Audi mirrors every move, weaving dangerously between cars. At this point, I'm done trying to outpace them. I take the next exit, hoping the driver will back off, but the Audi follows, making the sharp turn with ease. Now, it's not just frustration. It's anger, raw and unfiltered. I pull into a rest area off the highway, slam the car into park, and get out before the Audi even pulls in behind me. I don't even think about the consequences. I just need to vent, to confront whoever's behind this wheel and tell them to back the hell off. The black Audi screeches to a halt beside me, the engine still growling in the night air. I walk toward it, my heart pounding, fists clenched. The driver's door opens, and a tall figure steps out. But it's not who I expect. Sarah. The sight of her, standing there, her eyes wide in shock, grips me like a vice. I can't move, can't even blink. I want to scream, to ask why, but I can't find the words. She's not alone. A man, much older than her, steps out from the passenger side and wraps an arm around her waist. "Sweetheart, you all right?" he says, his voice smooth, too familiar. The word hits me like a punch. Sweetheart. I don't know him. I don't know why she's here, in Seattle, and I don't know what the hell this is. Everything I thought I knew about our relationship comes crashing down. I stare at Sarah, waiting for something, anything, to explain. But she's silent. Her lips tremble, her eyes darting away from mine, avoiding my gaze. "Sarah, what the hell is going on?" My voice cracks, and the words feel foreign in my mouth. "Why are you here with him? What are you doing?" The man steps forward, blocking Sarah from view, his posture defensive. "You need to back off, buddy. She doesn't owe you anything." My fists tighten at my sides. I'm shaking now, adrenaline coursing through me, but the anger is overwhelming. It clouds my vision, pulls me deeper into the confusion. Sarah doesn't say a word. I turn to her, desperation in my voice. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you?" She looks up at me then, eyes wide and panicked, but there's no apology, no explanation. She's just lost. Her voice falters, and she shakes her head, as if trying to gather herself. But there's nothing. No answer. The man laughs, an easy, casual sound that makes my blood boil. "You didn't think she was gonna wait around, did you?" That's the last straw. I take a step forward, but Sarah grabs my arm, pulling me back. "Michael, please don't. Just don't." The words hit harder than any punch could. I don't know what to do with myself. The truth is unraveling right in front of me, and I can't even hold it together enough to ask the right questions. I step back, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of it all. But nothing makes sense. Nothing in my life makes sense anymore. I turn away from them, feeling everything, the road rage, the betrayal, the confusion, crash over me in one dizzying wave. "Michael, Sarah's voice trails off behind me, but I don't stop. I can't. I get back in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ache. The engine roars to life, and I don't look back. The drive home feels longer than ever before. It's not the miles that stretch out in front of me, it's the weight of everything I've just discovered. I don't know where I'm going anymore. The world outside blurs, and the silence inside feels suffocating. When I pull into my parking spot, my hands are still shaking. The apartment is dark and empty. I don't know what to do with the wreckage of my thoughts, the wreckage of my life. The door slams shut behind me, but nothing's louder than the sound of my own broken heart. The weeks that follow blur into a sequence of cold calculations and deliberate moves, like pieces on a chessboard. Every decision feels heavy with intention, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not lost in the whirlwind of emotions. I'm steady, measured, a far cry from the person I was when I first learned the truth. I start with silence. The first week is absolute. No calls. No texts. I shut down all communication with Sarah. The hurt is still there, raw and jagged, but the silence gives me something I can control. Every time I pick up my phone, I resist the urge to check for a message from her. I stay firm. She'll learn, I tell myself, just how far gone I've already become. Her attempts to reach out are relentless. Texts pour in, each one a reminder of the betrayal. But I don't respond. I don't need to. The first step is to create space, a clear divide. Let her wonder, let her worry. If she's going to come back, she'll have to do it on my terms, not hers. Then comes the family. Our families were close, too close at times, and the engagement party, set for the end of the month, was supposed to be a celebration of everything we built together. Instead, I cancel it. I don't explain why. I don't need to. I just pull the plug, watch as disappointment flickers across the faces of both our families. They want answers, but I give them nothing. I'm a wall of silence, calculated and unmoving. Sarah doesn't take it well. She pushes harder, showing up at my door, sending messages begging for clarity, for a chance to talk. But I don't give her one. I don't need to hear her excuses anymore. Her apologies will mean nothing now, not with everything I've discovered. At the same time, I begin to fabricate a story. The idea of reconciliation. A second chance. I tell her I need time. I tell her I'm willing to work through it if she's honest with me, if she proves she wants to fix this. She's eager to believe it. She's desperate. And that's where I use her need for forgiveness to my advantage. I let her believe that we're working through it. I let her think she's winning me back, even though I've already planned my next move. We're going to move in together. The idea of living under the same roof, the proximity, will give me access to everything. I can keep tabs on her, watch her more closely. I don't tell her this is part of the plan, but she doesn't question it. She's too focused on regaining what she lost. I start gathering information. Her social media accounts become my surveillance tool. I know where she's been, who she's talking to, what she's posting. Every detail is important now. I look for inconsistencies in her stories, holes in the timeline, evidence of what I already know, her affairs. Each photo, each message, is a small piece of the puzzle. The more I dig, the more I find. There's one from a man who calls her babe in a private message. Another exchange with someone I don't recognize, where she promises to meet up while she's supposedly working late. It's all starting to line up. The affair with the man from the rest area, I suspect, is only the tip of the iceberg. I recover her passwords. It's easier than I thought it would be. The access to her accounts feels like a quiet victory. I go through her emails, her texts, everything I can get my hands on. The messages, the photos, it's all there, proof of the lies, of the betrayal. The hardest part is not the discovery. It's the waiting. I build my case carefully, methodically, making sure I have enough to expose her for who she really is. But I don't show my cards yet. Not until the timing is perfect. While I'm gathering evidence, I start working on the trust angle. I play the part of the forgiving partner, the one who's willing to move past the mistakes. I ask questions, I pretend to care, but underneath it all, I'm building my arsenal. Every sweet word she says, every "I'm sorry," it's all just more fuel for the fire. She thinks I'm weak, that I'm easily manipulated. What she doesn't know is that I'm already planning her downfall. And when the time comes, when the last piece falls into place, I'll have everything I need. I'll expose her to everyone. No more silence. No more pretending. She'll learn what happens when you betray me. The night is set, the stage carefully constructed. I've arranged everything, down to the smallest detail. An upscale restaurant, dim lighting, white tablecloths, the kind of place where people gather to celebrate what looks like a union, not the destruction of one. The invitation list is short: family and a handful of close friends, the people who will witness it all. Sarah thinks it's a special night. She has no idea what's about to unfold. We arrive early, and the air is thick with anticipation, the kind of tension you can almost taste. I can hear Sarah's excitement, her nervous chatter about the future we'll build together, the life we'll share. She's wearing that smile again, the one that always makes me wonder what's hiding behind it. This time, I know exactly what's there. At the table, we play our parts. I smile, nod, pretend to care. The meal begins, wine is poured, small talk flows, but I'm already several steps ahead, preparing for the moment when I will flip it all on its head. I wait for the perfect time, When everyone is settled, when the conversation is light and predictable. I've timed this perfectly, like a bomb waiting to go off. I excuse myself from the table for a moment, subtly pulling my phone out of my pocket. A few taps, and the posts are live. First, an innocuous picture of us, posted by me, with a subtle caption. But it's not the post that matters, it's the rest. The series of posts, private photos, private messages, proof of every affair Sarah had hidden. Every lie, every betrayal, for all to see. A public display of her secrets, exposed for everyone who matters to see. The reactions come in waves. Family members are shocked, too stunned to speak at first. Some are furious, their voices rising in disbelief. Others remain silent, unable to process the betrayal of someone they thought they knew. Friends quickly chime in, some expressing sympathy, others anger, and a few questioning Sarah's character. But the damage is done, and the damage is irreversible. Sarah's desperation begins the moment she understands what's happening. Her hands shake as she grabs her phone, her face turning pale as she scrolls through the messages and posts flooding in. She tries to explain, tries to offer some excuse, but nothing she says makes sense anymore. She apologizes, but it sounds hollow, like a rehearsed plea. She asks to speak to me privately, but I don't move. She is left there, exposed, stripped of the power she once held. Meanwhile, I sit back, watching it all unfold, an unfeeling observer in the midst of the chaos I orchestrated. She tries damage control, texting me furiously under the table, trying to get me to delete the posts, to take them down. But I don't respond. I won't. This is my moment. The truth is out. And there's no going back. Later, I find myself in a quieter place, dealing with the professional fallout of the last few weeks. While my personal life crumbles, the business side of things is steadily recovering. New investors are interested in the startup, drawn in by the focus I've managed to bring back to the project despite everything that's happened. The deal with the new investors is finalized quickly, faster than I expected. But it's a welcome relief. My career is back on track. The final blow comes when I return home that night. Sarah is gone. She's taken her things, left behind a note of empty apologies. I've already made arrangements. The eviction is smooth, almost anticlimactic in its simplicity. She's left with nothing but the remnants of a life she once thought she could control. The aftermath is quiet. The business is thriving again, and I'm able to move forward, focused on growth and restructuring. The lessons from the past few months, the pain and the manipulation, it all becomes a tool for the future. The focus now is on building, business and personal healing. The partnership issues in the company are next on the list. I'll address them carefully, strategically, with the same precision that got me through everything before. There are no more distractions, no more chaos. It's time to focus on what matters. And that, for the first time in months, feels like a victory.